You're not going to be a dictator, are you? I said, no, 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 other than day one.
Donald Trump has successfully moved the Overton window in a way that is as dangerous for the future of democracy in this country as anything else.
This is what Vout and Project 2025 wanted.
He's daring Tom Homan to come and arrest him. Should he do it? I would do it if I were Tom. I think it's great.
They control the Congress, they control the White House, and they control the courts. And so, of course, they're massively overreaching. And yes, they are getting away with it right now.
This is clearly a man who cannot tolerate criticism of him or what he does, which is exactly what authoritarianism is all about.
The New York Times is just as fake as CNN and MSDNC. They really are the enemy of the people.
What he is saying, rather bluntly, if you stand up to Donald Trump, he will punish you.
Protesters in Philadelphia, state capitals in California, Minnesota, Michigan, Texas, Wisconsin, Indiana, and others showed up to oppose Trump, Musk, and Project 2025.
US and President Trump has overseen America's largest military parade in decades as nationwide protests take place against his leadership.
Demonstrations are happening right across the United States today to oppose the Trump administration.
Two visions of America. On a day the country's deepening divide was there for all the world to see.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the show, Logically Left. I'm your host, Jeff Waldorf, and we've got a hell of a show today. So it's Monday, start of a new week, and lots of news stories from over the weekend. So why don't we get to it? But before I do, goddamn, is it bright in here? All right, I don't know what happened. My light seems to be much brighter than it was before, which is weird because it's actually at a lower setting. So I don't know what the hell's going on here. But yeah, it's bright. Okay. Weird. All right. Anyway, studio lighting concerns aside, we've got good stories. We've got a judge ruling against Donald Trump, and her house just happened to burn down over the weekend. So is it political violence? Maybe. There are some people that seem to think so. In fact, one of them called out Stephen Miller, who's the White House Deputy Chief of Staff, to which Miller, of course, responded with apoplectic rage. We've got that. So that's going to be fun to talk about. Fun and horrifying, because everything is horrifying. We have ICE accidentally tear gassing cops. A little bit of friendly fire there. Or maybe it's not so friendly. We got CBS staffers flipping out now that Barry Weiss, the anti-woke crusader queen or whatever, has taken over the CBS newsroom. So, maybe, you know what? Maybe this will lead to the final death of corporate media. I could hope, but it probably won't. Anyway, we'll talk about it. We have finally Laura Loomer gets a final humiliation from the Supreme Court, of all places. Interesting. So we got a great show today. So before we get into it, please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. Again, helps us out. Going forward, I mean, it's more important than ever to support independent progressive media, which is, not being paid for by Larry Ellison or Mark Andreessen and all those, right-wing guys that have taken over corporate media with Paramount, CBS, or ABC News, that's paying Donald Trump millions of dollars. We don't have any of that. Okay. We don't even have millions of dollars. We don't have tens of dollars. I don't have tens of dollars. Okay. So yeah, not good. So support independent progressive media. Help out. Become a patron. Become a member, a supporter. Facebook, YouTube, or of course on our Patreon. Patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. All right. with that said. Let's start out with the first story. Oh boy. A judge that ruled against the Trump administration and then was targeted with death threats over the weekend had her house mysteriously catch on fire. And I say mysteriously, okay? I mean, I don't think it's much of a stretch to say that this could have been an act of arson. We don't know for sure. But boy, is it suspicious. Okay, this could be the latest example of right-wing political violence in this country. Okay, South Carolina Circuit Court Judge Diane Goodstein had her $1.1 million home burned down on Sunday. Goldstein was apparently not home. She's out walking her dogs. Again, thankfully for her, right? But not so good for her family. At least 3 members of which, including her husband, a former Democratic state senator, Goodstein, and their son, both have been hospitalized with serious injuries. Yikes. According to the St. Paul's Fire District, which responded to the scene, the occupants had to be rescued via kayak. Law enforcement has not disclosed whether the fire is being investigated as an arson attack right now. So, I don't know. You know, I understand why they're not saying that this, this is, you don't have the facts, right? You do have to investigate that. I'm just saying, from my perspective, from my opinion, where there's smoke, there's fire. Literally. Okay. Look, it's not like there's, no like a connection or anything like that. Remember, the 69-year-old judge had been receiving death threats in the weeks leading up to this fire, according to multiple sources, speaking to South Carolina news outlet Fitz News. Okay. Now, what happened? Why? Well, Goodstein had temporarily blocked the state's election commission from releasing the voter files to the DOJ. The DOJ. So now, when that happened, that enraged MAGA. In fact, you had Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights. I know, I laugh. Harmeet Dillon openly criticizing her decision. While Trump decided to run to the rubber stamp Supreme Court, who later reversed that ruling. So they ended up winning anyway, overall. But apparently not enough to even stand against Trump, even though the Trump administration still won this battle. Not enough. No, we got to go burn this woman's house down. Well, okay, I don't know if that's true, right? But definitely they did send death threats. Okay. Look, the Department of Justice, by the way, they were looking for names. They were looking for addresses, driver's license numbers, social security numbers of over 3 million registered voters. Why would they do that? Why did they need that information? Well, they claim that we're just trying to stop illegals from voting, from registering to vote. Well, they already can't. They're not allowed to vote. No, what they're doing here is they're collecting our data, voter data, and they're giving it to Peter Thiel and Palantir, okay, to do God knows what with it. But anyway, she rules against Donald Trump, and somehow her house catches on fire weeks later. Weird. No, not a coincidence. Not a coincidence in my mind, okay? And there's a reason that I don't think that this was an accident, okay? You have had right-wing terror attacks, that have been happening for quite some time. Look, you had Democratic Speaker of the Minnesota House of Representatives, Melissa Hortman, and her husband that were murdered back in June, okay? Then you had an arson attack at Democratic Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's home back in April. Yet a number of judges that have ruled against Donald Trump who have been threatened and even attacked. All right. Look, Chief Judge for the District of Rhode Island, Jack McConnell, had told NPR back in August that his court had received more than 400 threatening voicemails, including credible death threats. Yeah. Now, McConnell had issued a ruling blocking Donald Trump's freeze on federal aid earlier this year. Judges told NPR that they had received unsolicited anonymous pizza deliveries, which lets the target know that some very bad and possibly violent people know where you live. And it's an intimidation tactic. And by the way, let me issue a small correction on this story. This house didn't just catch on fire. It was firebombed. Okay? It blew up. There was explosions. So I'm being very clear about this. That's why also I believe that this was an act of right-wing terrorism. Okay? Look, the far right has been going after judges that rule against Donald Trump. This is not left-wing violence. This ain't no Antifa, okay? It ain't it. No, the buck stops with Donald Trump, okay? If it's his side that's doing it, they're probably doing it because of stuff like this. This was back in May, okay? Where he's like, Happy Memorial Day to all the scum that spent the last 4 years trying to destroy our country through warped radical left minds. Will allow 21 million people. Oh my God, this is unhinged, right? To illegally enter our country, many of them being criminals and the mentally insane. No, I know who's mentally insane. It's freaking you. Through an open border that only an incompetent president would approve. There was no open border, okay? Was no open border. And through judges who are on a mission to keep murderers, drug dealers, rapists, gang members, and release prisoners from all over the world in our country so they can rob, murder, and rape again. Let me just stop there. Okay. The only criminal here is in the White House. Okay. He is the criminal. Okay. He is the rapist. Okay. He is those things. He is robbing this country. That's what he's doing in the White House. And yet he has the balls to sit there and talk about, I'm stopping crime. No, you're not. You're doing the crime. You're doing the crime. Okay. All protected by these USA-hating judges. Okay, that's what he's calling the judges. USA-hating judges who suffer from an ideology that is sick and very dangerous for our country. Oh my God. He also called them monsters who want our country to go to hell. Gee, I wonder why people are attacking judges that rule against Donald Trump. No, they're USA hating, obviously. Look, it's not just posting stuff that could encourage violence. They're doing lawfare as well. Justice Department in Trump's second term has moved to prosecute several judges that have pushed back on his agenda, on a lot of his illegal stuff that he is doing. In April, Hannah Dugan, a Wisconsin judge, was arrested for allegedly aiding an undocumented immigrant to leave the courthouse. In July, the DOJ filed a misconduct complaint against James Boasberg, chief judge of the U.S. District Court of Washington, D.C., over alleged comments that Boasberg made at a meeting of judges in March. Trump called for Boasberg, without actually naming him, to be impeached. Yeah. This judge, like many of the crooked judges I'm forced to appear before, should be impeached. Finally, Trump has just been ignoring the judges. In fact, there was a Washington Post examination of 165 lawsuits in which judges who ruled against Trump found, quote, widespread noncompliance with America's legal system by the administration. That's it. The White House, the so-called law and order president, is accused of defying or frustrating court oversight in nearly 35% of cases. Yeah. This administration is essentially lawless. They have been picking and choosing which orders they feel like following. And it's funny because I think back to the Biden administration, who couldn't even cancel $20,000 in student loan debt because Republicans, they ran to the court and blocked it. Oh, what can we do? There's nothing we can do. Can't cancel student loan debt because of the courts. And yet here are Republicans steamrolling the courts when they rule against them. Those same Republicans, by the way, who are like, oh, you got to respect the courts. You got to respect the court. You can't do the student loan, cancellation or forgiveness. You can't do any of that. No, the court has ruled. The court has ruled. They're the same ones who don't give a shit when Trump just steamrolls over the court and ignores over a third of all the rulings that were made against him. And this is while his supporters threaten and maybe even attack judges. Don't talk to me about left-wing violence and Antifa. No, when it's the far right doing the vast majority of it, even if this doesn't turn out to be a case of arson by a right-winger, which would honestly shock me at this point. Okay? No, it would shock me if it wasn't, all right? This has all the hallmarks, okay? No, you have the right wing in this country, the far right that is absolutely unhinged and is using violence, okay? Melissa Hortman and her husband are dead because of an unhinged right-winger. Paul Pelosi was viciously attacked in his home by a hammer-wielding right-winger. And you know what MAGA did? They laughed and laughed and laughed. Oh, you deserved it, right? They even concocted some phony, it must have been his gay lover. When this guy admits, no, I'm totally a Trump supporter. I'm totally a MAGA guy. And I was actually hoping that Nancy was home. These people are dangerous, okay? And yet our government, the Trump government, is lying and gaslighting us while blaming all that violence that is happening, some of which they absolutely own, on their political enemies. Okay. Oh, we have more. Good boy. It just don't stop. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller had a bit of a meltdown after the violent rhetoric spewed by MAGA was blamed for a fire bombing that tore through a South Carolina judge's home. Judge Diane Goodstein, who ruled against the Trump administration in a very high-profile voter registration case, had been walking her dogs on the beach when her $1.1 million home went up in flames around midday Sunday. Explosions. Okay. According to Fitz News, Goodstein had been receiving death threats for a few weeks before this blaze for ruling against Trump. Now, 3 people ended up being hospitalized. Her husband, Arnold, was forced to jump from the first floor to escape. 2 others were rescued by neighbors and paramedics from a marshy area at the rear of the house. Now, in the wake of this possibly politically motivated attack, Democratic Congressman Daniel Goodman was quick to tag Miller on social media platform X with footage of the fire. Okay. Stephen Miller and MAGA World have been doxing and threatening judges who ruled against Trump, including Judge Goodstein, Goldman wrote on X. Today, someone committed arson on that judge's home, severely injuring her husband and son. Will Trump speak out against the extreme right that did this? So, look, to be fair, we don't know what happened. Okay, we're still waiting on the details. Still waiting on the details here. But, I mean, come on. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Okay, now Miller, his response was a little interesting because he basically called Goldman deeply warped and vile, and then started talking about how, left-wing extremism. He said, quote, "There is a large and growing movement of left-wing terrorism in this country." Bullshit. It is well organized and funded. Bullshit. And it is shielded by far-left Democrat judges, prosecutors, and attorneys general. Bullshit. The only remedy is to use legitimate state power to dismantle terrorism and terror networks. Look, understand that right there is their end game. He is wanting to use, he's desperate to use the power of government to come after anyone on the left. Anyone on the left. He told Goldman that, quote, you continue to push despicable lies, demented smears, malicious defamation, and foment unrest. Despicable. Goldman then replied, why are you dodging the question, bro? Quote, if you are trying to combat political violence, why don't you condemn the political violence against a judge who ruled against you and your administration? Exactly. It's pretty simple. He asked, do you condemn all political violence or only that against your supporters? Look, I think it's pretty clear that PB German, sorry for German viewers, I love you, doesn't believe that violence against the left is a bad thing, apparently. Okay? Look, he seems to enjoy it, seems to get a kick out of it. And loves talking about how judges who rule against this administration are doing legal insurrection, which isn't a thing. Insurrection isn't legal. Okay? I know what he's trying to, trying to be all, clever about this whole thing. Oh, see, it's insurrection, but it's in a legal sense in the courtroom. No, that's not a thing. Not clever at all, actually. And over the weekend, he wrote, this is an organized terrorist attack in the federal government and its officers, and the deployment of troops is an absolute necessity to defend our personnel, our laws, our government, public order, and the republic itself. Now, he was talking about, of course, sending federal troops into Portland. Federal troops that Portland does not want. They don't want it. They don't want them or need them. And by the way, Judge Karen Immergut, a Trump appointee, agrees. He agrees. She said in a ruling that Trump's attempt to deploy soldiers is based largely on a fictional narrative. No kidding. Fictional narrative. It's true, though. About public safety, the president's determination was simply untethered to the facts. That's right. Untethered to the facts. Based on things that are not real. Okay, fictional narratives. But then again, that's what the Republican Party is running on these days. Okay, that's what Trump is running on these days. I mean, this has never been more true.
Just forget about the evidence.
Just forget about the evidence. Forget about evidence, forget about facts, forget about reality. We don't care. We don't care about any of that. Because it gets in the way of what we actually want to do, which is to crush all dissent. That's it. That's it. Didn't stop him, by the way. Oh, no. Trump actually sent about 300 National Guardsmen to Portland anyway. That's right. And now California is suing. Because some of their guardsmen had been sent to Portland. Ordered. Okay? Once again, he is ignoring court orders. Trump is. Around 35% of the court rulings against this administration have just been ignored. Over a third. And this is while Trump himself rails against the judges that ruled against him, calling them USA-hating far leftists. This judge, you realize you picked her, right? You picked her. And he probably doesn't even realize it. I mean, just a single day after Immergut blocked Trump, here's what he said. Quote, I wasn't served well by the people that pick judges. You picked the judge. I appointed the judge, and he goes like that, so I wasn't served well. Obviously, I don't know the judge. A coffee boy. Actually, this judge is a woman, but anyway. But if he made that kind of decision, Portland is burning to the ground You have agitators, instigators. All you have to do is look at the television. Turn on your television. Read your newspapers. It's burning to the ground. Hold on. Hold on.
Bullshit.
There it is. All of it. The governor, the mayor, the politicians, they're petrified for their lives. That judge ought to be ashamed of himself. Again, misgendering this judge, who was a woman. Portland, though, is not burning to the ground. That's just, that's fake. It's not real. It's not actually happening. Like pretty much everything that you are talking about. Everything that you say. But to be fair, though, he is right about one thing, ironically, and that is the people there are afraid. They're afraid of what this administration is doing. They're afraid of what the right wing is going to do. Because right now, they are doing political violence against Donald Trump's enemies. And now this judge, she, like many others, has a target on her because she ruled against him. While Stephen Miller, racist Nosferatu here, continues to gleefully ignore where the real violence is actually coming from. Next, they will say that Thanos is invading New York City. Seriously. There's no room for you in the Cheetophile administration if you care about the law or the Constitution or human rights. Let me add, or decency, or truth, or facts, or reality, or any of that. So, yeah. Okay. Moving on. He probably watched the movie 2012 and believes that. I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked. They're such liars. They're such liars. Okay. Over the weekend, Chicago police were accidentally hit with tear gas during protests with protesters. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me start that again. Protests with protesters? Did I just say that? Oops. Oh, there goes my brain. Over the weekend, Chicago police were accidentally hit with tear gas during some clashes with protesters. Now, the twist, of course, is that ICE agents were the ones who deployed said tear gas. To which I say, whoopsie. So now, look, there's been a lot of protest against an ICE facility in Broadview. There's been a lot of protests. There's been a lot of police actions. There's been a lot of clashes. And ICE, of course, has been caught on video brutalizing some of the protesters there, throwing them to the ground, using tear gas, pepper balls, all this stuff. Now, according to some footage filmed by a witness, Ryan Garza, several officers from the Chicago PD can be seen rubbing their eyes, squinting, and struggling with the after effects of being exposed to tear gas on October 4th. Storyful then verified that tear gas was deployed during this protest, which has led local officials to ask, why are you doing that? What are you doing using those weapons here in our cities? Like, what is going on with you? Okay, you're actually harming our first responders. In fact, you've got Broadview Police Chief Thomas Mills, all right, who's been speaking out against ICE, saying that his officers have been exposed multiple times to tear gas during previous incidents involving ICE agents. He said that the repeated exposure creates a dangerous situation for the community and its first responders. Now, Mills is the same guy who also noted previously over the past week or so that he was the target of verbal harassment from an ICE agent.
Chief Mills says he was walking across a skirmish on September 12th, the day this video was shot. He was called multiple expletives by an ICE agent, calling him a coward, accusing him of neglecting his duties during protests that got physical. Mills also telling the I-Team about an incident earlier this week where a pedestrian was hit by a truck near the ICE facility.
Allegedly, a ICE agent struck someone and continued on into their location. And during the course of that, while trying to gather information, there was pepper spray released while my officers right there. They felt the effects of that pepper spray where it altered their vision. You know, they were coughing, and I was on the phone with them, and they had to leave the area so they can decontaminate themselves.
Gee, you know, I wonder why an ICE officer was criticizing this police chief. You know, I just gotta wonder about that. But look, here's the thing. Mills has also accused immigration agents of making fake 911 calls. Yeah, including one instance in which an agent had reported somebody tampering with a gate at the Broadview facility. When officers arrived, of course, they found only a photographer and a security guard outside of the building. Look, this is more evidence, as if we actually needed more evidence, right? That ICE is a rogue agency at this point. No one has been proven more correct than the ones who said abolish ICE, of which I was one of, by the way. I said that they were going to do stuff like this, and this is what they're doing. Now, what did the Democrats do, by the way? They funded ICE during the Biden administration. And then Donald Trump funded it even more. He dumped about $100 billion on them. Which means now ICE is better funded than most modern militaries across the world. And you know what? The people who are working for them, okay, are exactly the types of people that you think they are. Oh, yes. NPR, for example, recently went to a DHS hiring fair and interviewed people applying for one of the allegedly open 10,000 ICE positions. Okay. Ana Maria Vargas, a correctional officer in Arizona, had been one of the applicants there, interviewed, and she said that she was brought there because of Dean Cain. Yeah, that's right. Dean Cain. I saw that guy that played Superman on the TV so many years ago. The Superman, who's not exactly living the ideals of Superman, by the way. That's what brought you in? Lovely. Now, she said, a lot of us still have the desire and want to serve our country, yet we don't know how to get into it because of the age restrictions, which ICE had removed. You can be as young as 18, or you could be, at this point, elderly. They don't care. They're going to give you a mask and a gun. Have at her, they say. Vargas said she wants to take out the bad guys, though she acknowledged that there are a lot of good people that are here. However, they are here illegally. No, actually, that's not true. Most of the people that have been arrested by ICE, the vast majority of, haven't done any crimes. And there's a lot of people that are being picked up. American citizens, for example, have been picked up by ICE. Okay? Including the recent immigration raid in Chicago that targeted an apartment building. Okay? You had American citizens being rounded up in the middle of the night. I mean, this is insanity. Absolute insanity. Now, there's more. Andrea Alexander, an attorney living in Utah, she had learned about ICE's recruitment efforts from the X account of White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller. So, already, big red flag if you're following that guy. Okay? Here's what she said. I love Trump. I love his administration. I think he's going to save our country. There's another applicant who was a little bit more, even more honest, I should say, and said, quote, I think there's way too many illegal immigrants here. If I get the job, I can't wait to go deport people. Wow. That's who's signing up for ICE. That's who's signing up for ICE and accidentally tear gassing the cops. Whoops. Now, here's the interesting thing about all this, okay? Normally, law enforcement tends to stick together, the big blue wall, right? Or I should say the thin blue line. I think that's what it is. Blue wall, something else. Okay, but here are police officers, especially a police chief, openly criticizing immigration because they've been overstepping their bounds. They have been getting now other law enforcement officers hurt. And it's because they're incompetent, for one, okay? The incompetence mixed with the brutality is creating an absolute PR nightmare, which is not going to get any better. I mean, look, you want to look at some of the polling, right? How people feel about ICE. It's not good. Quinnipiac University, in a July 2025 poll, found that 57% of voters disapprove of the way ICE is enforcing immigration law. It's a clear majority. A July 2025 poll revealed that 54% of Americans believe ICE has gone too far in enforcing immigration law. And a YouGov Yahoo poll taken in late June showed that ICE's favorability is underwater by about 13 points. 39% favorable to 52% unfavorable. And one recent analysis from CNN's Aaron Blake finds that ICE is now even more unpopular than it was during Trump's first term, which is when you had the Abolish ICE protests. That's when they were the loudest. And now, of course, you don't hear any of that from members of Congress or massive protests, but still people don't like what ICE is doing. In fact, Verdessa Cardenas, an executive director of a pro-immigrant advocacy group, America's Voice, spoke to Vox and said people are seeing what a mass deportation agenda looks like in real life. And Democrats are seeing what a police state looks like. Both things that we had warned them against. Okay, warned them about. They can speak up and denounce what's happening, but this is an opportunity for Democrats to take positions that, yes, call out the extreme tactics that ICE is deploying and present alternative ways, but don't just allocate billions of dollars to the enforcement machine in this country. Now, do I have a lot of faith in the Democrats? No, I don't. This just comes from being a leftist that has criticized the Democratic Party from the left and encouraged them, don't do it. Do not go to the right. Don't keep pivoting. Don't keep chasing the right wing on things like immigration. Don't do that. And they did it anyway. That said, to be fair, yes, Biden has been doing hardline immigration stuff, of course. But there is a big difference. There is a big difference. I'm not saying both parties are the same. All right. Biden wasn't doing stuff like this, obviously. Now, he was doing some, again, hardline immigration stuff. He was turning people away using a Trump-era immigration law, Title 42. That's Trump-era COVID, way to turn people away at the border. And yes, he deported a lot of people. That said, while I believe that Joe Biden was too right-wing on immigration, okay, was he as cruel as Donald Trump? No. And here's the thing. Republicans didn't just want border enforcement, okay? They wanted cruelty. That's why they voted for Donald Trump. They wanted more cruelty. They wanted more racism. They wanted violence towards immigrants. And they got what they voted for in spades. And they love it. They absolutely love it. That's what I need to get across to people. You ask Trump voters. You ask the MAGA faithful. if they like what's going on, and they will tell you, abso-frickin-lutely we do. You can't reason with those people. They see the cruelty that's going on, and they absolutely love it. This is what I voted for, they say. Well, okay, there it is. Cruelty was the point. We know that. You got what you voted for, you love it. Fine. But the normies, suddenly they're like, oh my God, this is horrifying. What did we do? What the hell? What is this? Well, we did warn you. We told you that this was what they were planning on doing. Okay. And yet, again, you do have those normies. You do have even law enforcement that are like shocked now about how much this administration and how much their supporters are delighting at this cruelty and absolutely loving it. Oh my God, this is I don't recognize this country. I do. And once again, I did warn you. Okay. There you go. Okay. Let's switch gears here, and we'll talk about media. A top anti-woke columnist has rode her crusade against the scourge of cancel culture all the way up to become CBS News's editor-in-chief. That's right, Barry Weiss is leading CBS News. Now, this happened as a result of mergers, acquisitions, obviously. In fact, Paramount was just acquired by Skydance in a Trump administration approved merger. You know, the FCC's got to approve that, right? And now Paramount will also acquire Weiss's publication, The Free Press. Okay. Now, Weiss had launched that publication after leaving the New York Times back in 2020. She just felt so bullied by the wokes. You know, oh my God, they're saying bad things about me. They're so mean, these woke people. The wokers. I gotta go start my own grift. I mean, my own publication. Look, the reality is, on the right, being canceled is pretty lucrative. No one who claims to have been canceled has actually disappeared at all. They're still there. They're not only are they still here and not canceled after all, they're actually making more money off of crying about being canceled. Do you know the Free Press was just acquired for $150 million? And previously, Weiss, it's not like she left the New York Times and took her savings and was like, okay, I'm going to create the Free Press, this beacon of truth and journalism. I'm going to do that with my own gumption, sweat up my brow, and no backing. No. She got the startup money for the Free Press from, among others, pro-Trump billionaires Mark Andreessen and David Sachs. Millions of dollars of investment. Yeah. So I think it's pretty clear who owns that, okay? And who propped up Barry Weiss. Now she, in her new position, will report directly to Paramount Skydance chief executive David Ellison. Yeah. Barry is a proven champion of independent principled journalism. Really? I don't know about that.
Really?
And I am confident her entrepreneurial drive and editorial vision will invigorate CBS News, said Ellison in a statement. We believe the majority of this country longs for news that is balanced and fact-based, and we want CBS to be their home. You know what that means? It means CBS is going to be even more right-wing and less fact-based, because the right-wing hates facts. Let's just be honest about that.
Just forget about the evidence.
Ahead of July's Skydance Paramount merger, which required approval by the Trump FCC, of course, Ellison promised that they would bring unbiased journalism and diverse viewpoints, which means right-wing, of course, that reflect the varied ideological perspectives of American viewers to CBS News. Which, again, all this means is more Trump ass-kissing. That's what that is. Oh, and they also announced that we're going to get rid of DEI. I mean, come on. You all know what's going on here. You all know what's going on here. Okay, look, many people at CBS, the staff, which, by the way, are probably getting ready to lose their jobs as a result here. They're not thrilled, though. Those who spoke with The Independent, for example, noted that the majority of the newsroom are not exactly thrilled or not welcoming Weiss, not because of her, entirely because of her perspective, which, again, there are conservatives in the news business and all that, but basically they looked at her lack of experience as well as her editorial sensibilities, which is, again, to be anti-woke, pro-Trump, okay? Sources stated that morale at the newsroom is extremely low, and that there's no appetite among most of the staff to see Weiss take charge of the network and potentially squander its credibility, as well as the credibility of 60 Minutes. People are using words like depressing and doomsday. Feels like some sort of doomsday, that same reporter said. I think the ombudsman, which is apparently part of the deal to ensure fairness, Barry Weiss and the impending massive layoffs, which is about $2 billion worth of layoffs, that are coming in a couple of weeks, have everyone just kind of freaking out, like literally freaking out, said another CBS journalist. It's not a good place right now. There was a proper way to do this and a not proper way. And they're doing it in the non-proper way. And maybe that's by design. Oh, bless your hearts, CBS guy. Maybe, for putting the maybe in there. All right. No, of course it's by design. Of course. But why Barry Weiss? I mean, it's not like the right has a lack of anti-woke people. Why Barry Weiss? Well, apparently there's a belief among network insiders and staffers that Weiss is mainly being hired to tamp down on pro-Palestinian coverage of what's going on in Gaza. You know, the genocide is currently happening? Yeah. In fact, Breaker reported last week that a major reason why this deal is happening is the Free Press's unflinching pro-Israeli or pro-genocide stance, and that Larry Ellison and his son David's close ties to Benjamin Netanyahu. And there it is. So basically, CBS News is now going to become an arm of the Israeli government's propaganda campaign to defend ethnic cleansing and genocide. Whoa! That's what's going on here. And obviously, they're not going to be doing actual journalism. Again, they're gutting the journalism department, taking $2 billion out of it, and firing a whole bunch of people. So there you go. One network correspondent said of this: the fact that we don't have money to pay journalists, but we have money to pay Barry Weiss between $100 and $200 million is indicative of what the Ellison's true goal here is, and it's not journalism. He's essentially going to hand the keys to the kingdom to Barry Weiss and to anyone and everyone who is an ideologue that supports his and his father's world, a CBS reporter told The Independent. And there it is. That's the point. Massively pro-Israel, more so than they currently are, by the way. And that's another good point. When you're like, wait a minute, aren't they already super pro-Israel? Yes, but it's going to be even more. Pro-Israel, pro-Trump, anti-left, anti-woke. They're turning CBS News into Fox. The problem is, Fox News already exists. So I don't know what they're expecting here. But they're going to peel off Fox voters Fox viewers by being more like Fox News? But they're the original. They're the OGs. People ain't going to be watching CBS News to get more of what they already get on Fox. And that gets me to the overall point here. There's already so much conservative media in this country. They run pretty much everything, okay? They run pretty much everything. There is no liberal media. That has been a lie. And there absolutely is no leftist media. Not on TV. Not on TV. Yes, the left does exist online. But we are constantly buried by algorithms that do not want you to see us. And the whole point there is to not show our perspectives. Look, the regime, this has been part of the plan, okay? They're taking over media, all the mainstream media, in order to manufacture consent. It's always been the goal of the right wing. The Seven Mountains Mandate, everybody. Take over all the media spaces so that you never, ever get to hear the counter. You never get to hear the other side. And I think it's pretty plainly obvious that they have been successful in that endeavor beyond their most wildest dreams. And there you are. John Phantom says, I'm sick of everyone to the left of Goebbels being labeled far left. I hear you, brother. I am right there with you. All right. Last story here. We're going to make fun of Laura Loomer. We need something here, okay? We need some good news for once. All right. On Monday, Laura Loomer was handed her walking papers by the Heritage Foundation Supreme Court. Weird. Who apparently declined to take up her dumb lawsuit against big tech. Okay. So let me give you the details here. Loomer basically alleged that, social media platforms, they got together in a gigantic conspiracy to keep me off social media. Interesting. Now, she organized this, right? This lawsuit after being banned from Twitter back in 2018. So hold on here. Twitter, which was Twitter back then, it's now X, and by the way, she is back on that platform because Elon Musk bought the whole thing. They kicked her off in 2018 for hateful conduct, which, by the way, they have the right to do so. Social media companies do have the right to kick people out for not, following their own guidelines, okay? And it just so happened that back before Elon Musk took over, they actually did have some guidelines of what you could and could not do or say, okay? Now, those guidelines, they still exist, but they've changed. You can get kicked off of X for saying cisgender. Yeah. But anyway, so she was kicked off of Twitter, and then in the following year, she was kicked off Facebook for being a quote-unquote dangerous individual. And in 2020, they had allegedly blocked her political advertisements as she was running for Congress. Now, Loomer alleged that, oh my God, this censorship by the social media platforms. They have killed my campaign for Congress. No, she couldn't win in Florida. Okay, she couldn't win twice. The two times that she ran for Congress, she lost in Florida, 11th and 12th districts. Okay. Now, she said, her lawyers said, Loomer had no social media for any of her campaigns due to the social media bans. And as such, you know, they had sued X, former Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey, Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, Procter & Gamble, and dozens of federal employees. She alleged that these defendants had conspired with Google, YouTube, and Instagram to unlawfully censor conservative political speech. Oh, right. Sure. Specifically targeting Loomer's campaign communications to influence U.S. congressional elections. She also alleged that Procter & Gamble had told Meta to ban her unless they publicly disavowed affiliation with the Proud Boys, which is a violent white nationalist hate group that was involved in January 6th. Same. Okay. Loomer also claimed that federal officials had made efforts to suppress conservative content, specifically naming the 2020 New York Post story about Hunter Biden's laptop. Is the laptop. Okay? Can't go without, can't talk about censorship without bringing up the laptop. Of course. Here's the interesting thing. She goes around claiming, I have been censored. They have censored me. How dare you? Okay, but you claim to have been censored, and yet you're the loudest motherfucker in the room. I mean, that's what these people are. Like, they never shut up. They're always loud. And, you know, maybe part of it's my fault because I cover these stories. And so maybe that's why we hear about them a lot. But anyway, look, they don't shut up. The people who claim to have been silenced are loud. They're the loudest people. And yet it's all a grift. Okay, it's all a grift. Get attention. And they're good at it. They're good at it. They have managed to somehow weaponize this into a way for them to raise lots of money and get tons of attention. I mean, again, it goes back to the whole cancel culture thing. Nobody who was canceled was ever actually really canceled. They're still there, and they've been making oodles of cash and getting tons of attention in the right wing. So it's all a grift. Okay, but anyway, her lawsuit went through the lower courts. They weren't buying it. Okay, the RICO allegations. First, a federal judge had dismissed her suit, and then an appeals court had agreed, ruling that Loomer simply alleges that there was a RICO enterprise because the defendants had common goals of making money, acquiring influence of their other enterprises and entities, and other pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests. Okay. And there you go. What a shocker. Yes, these companies want to make money. And Laura Loomer had a great way for them to make money, to say. Now, in July, she decided to take her case to the Supreme Court. And on Monday, they denied her petition. Sad day. Denied. We don't got time for you. Go away. Shut up. Don't care. Now, it's funny that the Supreme Court order actually also made clear that Justice Alito took no part in the consideration or decision of this petition. Meaning that probably he was like, I want to hear from her. I want to hear from Laura. I want to see what's going on here. Why don't we listen to her? And everyone else is like, are you kidding me? No, we're not at all interested. Look, Laura Loomer, she is Donald Trump's tattler in chief, okay? And why do I say that? because that's what she does. An analysis by the Daily Beast found that at least 16 individuals were fired from the federal government after Loomer had tattled on them, claiming that there were secret Democrat agents. Oh, is that the case? Not necessarily. Look, she can make these allegations on social media and get people fired. That actually means that she's got a ton of political power. A ton of it. And maybe it's because she whined and complained so much that perhaps Donald Trump probably saw her as a kindred spirit or something. I don't know. Or you could, go to the more widely accepted theory as to Donald Trump is porking her. And look, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying that that's the case. Okay? That's just a rumor. I can't say one way or another. Okay? But, I mean, wouldn't surprise me if there was a little bit of
sexual anarchy
going on here. I don't know. That said, for once, the SCOTUS actually did something useful, okay? In telling Loomer to get lost with her bullshit. And you know what? It may not be the biggest win, or big at all, really. But you know what? I'll take it. I'll take it. And there you go. That is unfortunately all I got for you all today. Thank you for watching. Please like and share the stream. Those of you who might have came in a little bit late, that's totally fine. You can rewind it, or go to our Patreon page. Wait, it's free, no paywall, and listen to the show, the whole show, okay? As well as many past shows, going back months, all right? And so that's how you can catch up, all right? If you're a new viewer or new listener, and kind of get my vibe from my previous shows. All up for free, no paywall, patreon.com/jeffwaldorf. Or you can sign up, become a member on our YouTube page. Again, no paywall here. Just supporting independent progressive media. Okay? That's that's a goal here. All right? Support independent progressive media by signing up and becoming a member for price of a cup of coffee, all right, or a latte, all right. So, yeah, if you could do that, I'd really appreciate it. Super chat, by the way, $10 here from VMan29397 says, for all the people making fun of Trump for talking to the president of Puerto Rico, this will make you laugh. He is a real historical person named Francisco Ramirez Medina. Perhaps Trump used a Ouija board. Well, he was also talking about how he was warning about bin Laden in his book when he actually didn't. Yeah, he just makes things up. It's just absolutely, it's just absolutely amazing how somebody can just lie so easily and probably without even knowing that they're lying, without even realizing it. It's just, he lies so easily that it's like breathing for him. But anyway, thank you for that super chat. Thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate that. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, 2 p.m. Eastern, right here, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, all the usual suspects. And videos will start going up on our channel, on our YouTube, Logically Left, around 4 p.m. Eastern. So that means I gotta get my butt going. All right, everybody. Thank you all. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night.